Hi guys, Ariel here. I received a question recently about what I practice on when I'm face painting. So I'm going to do a quick video for you showing you what I've used in the past, what I use now, why I've liked certain things over other things, and hopefully just give you a general idea of what's out there for you to practice on, give you some tips, and hopefully answer some questions that you may have or didn't even know you had. So keep watching and I'll show you the different things that I've practiced on over the years. So to start, one of the most inexpensive things that you can use to practice on for face painting is a basic transparency sheet. This one is quite dirty, so ignore that. But you can get a basic transparency sheet in a huge size, in smaller sizes, at any craft store, a printing shop. I'm sure you can order it online as well. This is very inexpensive. It's easy to clean when you clean it well, so ignore my dirty one. And it's relatively a good surface to start practicing on. One of the negatives with this is that it is quite slick. It's not going to give you 100% realistic feel the way skin would or some of the other practicing surfaces that I've used over the years. However, if you are starting out face painting, you need a quick surface to paint on, this is a good option. I would get a transparency sheet. You can print off a profile of a child, an adult from an online image search, and you can just lay that print out right underneath your transparency and have endless practice heads. You can do the same thing with outlines of arms, neck, shoulders, whatever it is you're trying to practice, bellies as well for maternity paintings, and just lay the pictures underneath the transparency and you have hours and hours of practice material that you can easily just wipe off. So it's a good, inexpensive solution to start practicing right away. Now, if you want to step it up a bit from your basic transparency sheet, then I would recommend getting something like the Sally Ann Lynch flat sheets. See if I can get her logo in there for you. And I'm not sponsored by anyone. This is just a personal opinion, so I want to make that clear. Now, I did purchase one of these recently and have started practicing new designs on them. And the reason it's a step up from a basic transparency sheet is because there is some texture on these. She has designed these to mimic the feeling of skin so that when you drag your brush across this, it pulls just enough that it's going to mirror painting on the skin better than that really, really slick transparency sheet that I just mentioned. So first tier of, beginner, I would do the transparency sheet. If you want to step it up, I would get a real practice surface like the Sally Ann Lynch. And I know there's others, but the Sally Ann Lynch is a really, really good one. It's popular. They clean up fairly well. The only negative I've noticed so far is if I put if I sponge something on this or if I do a heavier application of paint, it can take a little while to dry. So sometimes I'll have to wait for it to dry. But that would be reaching for a negative. It's not a problem. The one I have has multiple different heads on it, so if I do put something down that I need to dry, then I kind of just move on to the next one and start a new design, so hasn't been an issue. But the texture of these are going to allow for a more realistic feel of skin, so that if you practice a design and then you go to do that on a kid or whomever you're painting on, you're going to have a more mimicked experience of what you practiced and then your true application, which with face painting is a big deal. Now, that being said, if you want to then step it up another notch beyond a flat surface, then you can get a practice head. Now, this is terrifying, but this is my practice head. I know, have I scared you yet? So this admittedly was not an expensive practice head. I got this when I first started face painting, which seems like forever ago now. I don't even know when I purchased this. I don't know if there's a name on this one. Doesn't really look like it. Probably got it from Amazon, where I buy 90% of everything I own. It was not expensive, which is why it stains so badly. So of all the things I've practiced on, I mean, there's so many lines on this. Now, however, I will say the nice thing about a head is that you have the contours of a face. If you are just beginning to face paint, practicing on a flat surface can be really deceiving because you might create designs that are elaborate and have a lot of movement and cool things happening. Then if you go to try to apply that onto someone's face, you forget that you have to go over their nose and then down their cheek. And then sometimes, you'll be practicing and you'll paint over an eye on a flat surface and then not realize that you can't really do what you thought you were going to do on that person, next week when you're at an event. So I do think the heads can be really, really helpful because you can really practice sponging and contouring around a face. Now, if this would bother you, having something stained, then I would recommend investing in a more expensive practice head. I know there's lots out there. If you decide to buy one, read the reviews. Ask people for recommendations. This never bothered me. I never really showed it to anybody until now, so it was just sitting in my house. It was stained and kind of always a little gross and hard to clean, but it got the job done, and I always liked using it. I don't really use it anymore. The thing I practice on the most is my Sally Ann Lynch, because I usually try to practice multiple designs at a time. I've got different things I'm working on, and this allows me to do many different designs and try different things out, and it's working pretty well. Now, beyond all of those things, which I think those are probably the three most popular things that I've used and still utilize and would recommend you guys trying, but the absolute best thing for you to practice on, of course, are real kids or yourself. So if you have, a neighborhood filled with kids, offer to throw a block party and paint them all. Send a note out to the parents or, your community church and say, hey, I'm, a face painter and always need kids to practice on. If you have an event where I could show up and practice on kids, that's going to be your number one best way to train yourself, is practicing on kids. Nothing can compare to real skin. None of the things I showed you compare to actual skin. There's always going to be a little bit of a variance from your practice board, practice head, or transparency than what it's really like painting on a person. Now, the other best thing to practice on is yourself. If you can paint things on yourself, which is so hard, then I guarantee you're going to be able to paint it on someone else. Practice on yourself. Practice on your arms. Cover your legs with face paint. You're there, you're available, and nothing is going to compare to real skin. So I hope that helped. If you have any questions, please let me know. I will link a few of these products down below so that you can get to them easily, but any of the face painting shops online are going to have something similar for you to practice on. And just read reviews, and the most important thing is to practice, because the more you practice, you're going to get better. So thanks for watching.